pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At the commissioners' meeting yesterday, the Lycoming County Commissioners presented a proclamation declaring Law Day here in Lycoming County, which they do every year, and we certainly appreciate the recognition and the support that we receive from the commissioners. And they are here today, and I think that they'd like to come up and read the proclamation for us and present it again.
Do my colleagues come and join me? We're going to do this in stereo. Proclamation. Whereas Law Day, first held in 1958, was established in the United States and exemplifies the merits of our court system, and whereas Law Day affords citizens the opportunity to reflect on our country's judicial system, a system that provides a forum for the peaceable resolution of disputes among citizens, permits citizens to obtain indemnification of their grievances, even grievances against the government itself, and provides extensive protection of the defendant to protect against the possibility of unjust imprisonment by an overzealous government, a system which seems preferable to an unchecked government which cannot be held to account. And whereas Law Day is observed in our community with activities which include honoring Law Day essay and art winners, presentations by local government officials and judicial representatives, and celebrations of our court system. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lycoming proclaimed Thursday, May 5th, 2022, as Law Day in the County of Lycoming and encourage citizens to recognize the advantages of our judicial system and to support all those who are intricately involved in our court system and who strive towards justice for all. In witness whereof, we have set our hand and seal the 5th day of May, 2022, signed Lycoming County Commissioner Scott L. Metzger, Chairman, Tony R. Macer, Vice Chairman, and Richard Marabito, Secretary. On behalf of the commissioners, we say to all of you, thank you for what you do, because it is true that we have a system that protects all of us, even with grievances against the government itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And then just very briefly, I would like to recognize the members of our Law Day Committee because, as you might imagine, we open this contest up every year to all school-age children in the county, in every school district, including homeschool children, and we receive dozens upon dozens, sometimes hundreds of submissions. And so that takes a lot of manpower and man-hours to go through them all. And so to that end, we do have a committee made up of judges, attorneys, and paralegals who go through all of those entries and choose the winners. And so just very briefly, I'd like to recognize them. Judge Arbuckle, Judge Butts, Dave Wilk, John Petrovito, Don Martino, Tammy Taylor, Robert Cronin, Mark Dreyer, Alexandra Shalley, and Amanda Gaynor, Jerry Rook, Lori Spangler, Stephanie Tempesco, and Michelle Fry. So any of you that are here, if you wouldn't mind just standing up or raising your hand or something, but thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't offer a special thank you to Michelle Fry, Director of the Law Association, who spends a number of hours getting everything prepared for this event and for the contest itself. So thank you, Michelle. So with that, I think we can get into our winning essays. First up is Cadence Meixel, who is in Mrs. Christie's class at St. John Newman Regional Academy. Come on up. I can figure out how to... All right. Is that a good height for you? So what you might want to do is hold it out here and move right into the microphone.
Constitution is important because we have our own say in government. The 15th Amendment says, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." In 1828 is when men could vote, and nobody else could vote. The slaves could not vote either because slaves are still denied the right to vote by state constitution and law. In 1920 is when women could vote. Women did a lot to get to vote. We remember this because of Women's History Month. In 1970 is when 16-year-olds could vote, but it changed in 1 year. Congress changed it to 18 because that is when 18-year-olds can join the national military. It is important today because a lot of people would like to have their own say in government. Also, we would like to make some of the decisions too.
Congratulations. Next up is Elliot Dragon, also from Mrs. Christie's class at St. John Newman. I had the privilege of meeting Elliot here earlier this week, right, Elliot?
Yeah.
All right. Because I was more excited about it. All right. Nice and loud right in the microphone.
The First Amendment is important because we have freedom of the press. The freedom of the press allows us to criticize the government. In some countries, people are not allowed to criticize their government. The freedom of the press allows us to see both sides of the situation. In countries that don't have freedom of the press, people only see one side of the story. People have the right to ask the government to fix a problem. With freedom of the press, people can suggest an opinion about something. If we didn't have freedom of the press, there would be problems. People wouldn't have had a chance to be able to suggest how to fix a problem to the government. Without freedom of the press, people might not even know about the problem. Citizens can express their ideas to the government with freedom of the press. The freedom of the press allows us, the people of the news, to express their feelings about the government or president and tell what the people like and don't like. The news would not be able to do this without the freedom of the press. That is why the First Amendment freedom of the press is so important to us today.
All right, good job. Okay, next up we have Alice Egger, who is in Mr. Cook's class at Loyalsock Middle School. Close.
The United States Constitution was written in 1787, over 2 centuries ago. This document was important in the nation 235 years ago, and it is still important today. However, the U.S. Constitution was written for a simpler society. In the 1700s and 1800s, citizens of America had to work harder to survive. Guns were needed to be able to gather food to feed families and for protection. People also had to wait weeks for letters and newspapers to broadcast information. Now, one can get food in 5 minutes and communicate in 5 seconds. The same logic applies to the United States Constitution. It is of course important to ensure stability, but our society has evolved and the Constitution should evolve along with it. The United States Constitution has many important sections to it that are still relevant today. For instance, the U.S. government was specifically designed within the Constitution to avoid tyranny. The Virginia Plan was where the idea for branches and the separation of powers originated within the United States of America. Because of this separation of powers, American citizens were given many rights denied to the people in many other countries. People are given the right to their own religion in Amendment 1 and given freedoms not listed in Amendment 9. Our country has changed in the past 200 years. However, these amendments and our Congress still apply and help us today to keep our nation safe and free. Even though the Constitution has many good aspects, it does require some changes that could make modern society better. The Second Amendment is one of these amendments that was great for a new nation. It gave people the ability to rebel against a tyrannical government. However, why is it necessary now? It once gave citizens a sense of security. but muskets in the 17 and 1800s were large and took time to load. They were used to hunt and collect food for families. Now there are guns that can shoot 400 times a minute. The Second Amendment is only increasing gun violence. In a Pew Research Center article, it states that 45,222 people died from gun-related injuries in the U.S. That is 79% of murders and 53% of suicides. If the Second Amendment is removed or changed, people will not be able to carry weapons freely, which will result in less gun-related deaths. Guns have evolved since 1791 when this amendment was passed. Therefore, the Second Amendment should evolve to accommodate our changed nation. Other people may be apathetic about the Constitution. They may see no point in trying to change it. They may say that it would be too hard to change to be suitable for society today. However, it has been done before and can be done again. In 1919, the 18th Amendment was passed with the prohibition of alcohol. In 1933, this amendment was repealed to better fit the country at the time. Therefore, one can change an amendment that is no longer relevant for the good of the nation. Of course, the Constitution is essential to stability for our government, but amendments should be just as important and up to date. In an advanced republic, an adapted Constitution is critical to stay strong and safe. The United States Constitution's qualities, like Congress and natural rights, keep our country free. However, changing the Second Amendment to fit society would make life safer for many Americans. The United States has changed for the better. It is about time that our Constitution does the same.
Well done. All right, next up, also from Mr. Cook's class at Loyal is Adam Jayada.
In North Korea, speaking out against government ideas would sentence you to a work camp. This is the most limited country in the world, and it has no freedoms, with most people being dirt poor. In contrast, America has almost every freedom to exist. The first 10 amendments drastically express our freedoms, which are very valuable. The Constitution is one of the most incredible documents ever written, and is even better because it can be changed to fit into American lives today. The Constitution is important to us today because it can give us freedoms, doesn't allow abuse of power, and though Amendments 2 and 21 are flawed for this time in America, they can be changed to fit into our lives today. Amendment 2 doesn't fit in our society today and should be altered. The amendment is as follows. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I fully support the idea of being able to own a firearm for protection. The only issue is if the wrong person obtains a weapon, the nation will deteriorate. From the article everytownresearch.org, a section states, every year, more than 3,500 children and teens are shot and killed, and 15,000 more are shot and injured. An estimated 3 million children in the U.S. are exposed to shootings per year. Children exposed to violence, crime, and abuse are more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, suffer from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, fail or have difficulties in school, and engage in criminal activity. This evidence shows that firearms are destroying our nation. Children exposed to this violence will spiral and ultimately fail. Firearms are ruining the future generation that would be active in this country and will forever decimate many lives. Amendment 2 shall be changed so it is harder to obtain a firearm, and the weapon shall be looked over until the possessor is proven worthy. Similar to Amendment 2, Amendment 21 is also invalid in this era of America. Section 1 of Amendment 21 is as follows. The 18th article of amendment to the Constitution of the United States is hereby repealed. Section 1 of Amendment 18 states, after 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors within, the importance thereof into, or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territory subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. As previously stated above, I am not against the idea of alcohol, but when it is in the possession of the wrong person, it is very harmful. Alcohol is very dangerous, and this is proven every day. Stated from alcoholrehabguide.org, the passage states, every day in the United States, about 30 people lose their lives in a car accident involving alcohol, and about 6 people die from alcohol poisoning. In just 4 years, from 2006 to 2010, alcohol killed 88,000 Americans, costing the country 2.5 million years of potential human life. Moreover, the extreme consequences of alcohol abuse are not diminishing. From 2007 to 2017, the number of alcohol-related deaths in the United States increased by 35%. This evidence depicts that alcohol is ruining this nation. It is killing 30 people a day, which is 10,950 people a year. It also causes the nation unreasonable years of human life. This nation is declining, and it's all because some people cannot be trusted. Amendment 21 should be changed so that alcohol is harder to obtain, and if convicted of abuse of alcohol, it shall be prohibited from that person for a reasonable amount of time. Although these 2 amendments should be changed, the Constitution gives us an abundant amount of freedoms that other countries don't have. The American Constitution is important to us today because it controls the power of our government. The Constitution also gives us multiple freedoms that other countries do not have. According to bestlifeonline.com, the article states, "If you're not violating any laws about public decency or wearing clothing intended to incite violence, you're free to choose the clothes that look and feel good to you. In countries like North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Uganda, Sudan, and France, wearing the wrong thing can be a punishable offense. This evidence shows that America gives freedoms that other countries don't have. The Constitution gives us this right, and that's why it's so important. We wouldn't be able to freely express ourselves in other countries. Other freedoms that America has that other countries don't include the right to a fair trial, Amendment 7, which is not permitted in South Africa, ending a relationship, which isn't allowed in Malta or the Philippines, and the freedom to access information, in which China limits searches and Russia takes down anything bashing the government. In Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, the power of the President and Vice President is limited. It states, "He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and together with the Vice President, chosen for the same term, be elected." This evidence limits the opportunity of a monarchy and provides no fear of being overruled. This reason is the most important part of our Constitution, as it basically looks out for our entire nation. Ultimately, the 2nd and 21st Amendments should be changed because they are not fit for this day of America. The Constitution includes freedom and doesn't allow one person to absorb too much power, thus making it important. Thousands of people are losing their lives to gun violence and alcohol, and that is not a good representation of our nation. The presidential power is limited, eliminating the idea of being taken over. We all have free choice. It's how you exercise that freedom that matters.
Okay, and our last essay is Emma Strickland from Mrs. Chapman's class at Loyalsock High School. Emma here? And I'll just note, Emma is a prior winner. I think we have at least 3 times, including 1 overall winner, of which this is again the overall winning essay. So, looking forward to hearing it.
On a brutally hot summer day in Philadelphia, a group of men concurred on a document that would provide a framework of government for years to come. With their signatures at the bottom of the page, our Constitution was put into effect in 1787. When the framers created this document, they were aware that it was not perfect in any regard. Much of this imperfection lay with the founders themselves, written only by men, some of whom owned human beings, and most believed that women should have no role in public affairs. They only understood our nation to be as a small country along the eastern seaboard with no modern manufacturing or communication. Benjamin Franklin stated, "When you assemble a number of men to have the advantage of their joint session, you inevitably assemble with those men all their prejudices, their passions, their errors of opinions, their local interests, and their selfish views. From such an assembly can a perfect production be expected?" Many see this acknowledgement of imperfection as the most important part of this foundational document. In the framers' wisdom, they provided for the ability to change a document of such importance that it would allow it to adapt to new problems that arose. This forethought, hundreds of years ago, was revolutionary and has allowed our nation to grow and prosper. But while the idea of being able to amend the Constitution had the right intentions, in practice it was not very plausible. Article 5 provides for amendments through either a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress and ratification of 3/4 of the states, or a national constitutional convention called by 2/3 of the state legislatures. These are extremely difficult to accomplish and time-consuming to manage. Chris Edelson, American University professor, in an article for the American Constitution Society stated, "Our inability to mitigate major problems in our country is fundamentally the result of one central problem, a failed constitutional system that has left the United States unable to respond to these national challenges." Even when one looks at current ideas for constitutional amendments, they don't seem to help solve the most critical issues our nation faces. Some are proposed to address issues we assume are already granted, like an amendment to guarantee everyone the right to vote, or finally passing the Equal Rights Amendment. Many ideas for amendments only alter previous amendments, such as repealing the 17th Amendment, the Electoral College, or ending income tax by repealing the 16th, or removing unreasonable to describe illegal searches in the 4th Amendment. Some look to address our national problems by managing how long our government officials can serve, such as removing presidential term limits or adding term limits for Congress, or doing away with lifetime appointments for Supreme Court justices. Only a few directly address issues we currently see in practice, such as requiring a balanced budget or regulating campaign finance. There are those that hold the view that the Constitution should be scrapped and that we should start from fresh, and they make compelling arguments. An article in Smithsonian Magazine summarized a book by Georgetown law professor Louis Michael Seidman, which proposed that adherence to the Constitution is both misguided and long out of date. Edelson argues that in its original form, the Constitution did not fully provide for what is now called a liberal democracy, a system with free and fair elections, individual rights, limits on the power of the majority as well as government officials, and the rule of law. He believes our Constitution's failure to do what we reasonably expect it to do helps explain our inability to address some of the most significant issues we face in our society: economic distress, cyber attacks against the government and industry, racial injustice, a climate crisis, etc. After reading several articles about these issues and analyzing the arguments, I've come to the conclusion that the Constitution is not the problem, and one or two amendments won't make it significantly better. The Constitution is simply a document, a tool for people to use or abuse. The problem I see is with the government officials that we have put in place to lead our country. No amount of amendments will force them to work for the betterment of our nation. In my opinion, we should be electing officials who will approach their work the same way our imperfect forefathers did. Work together, even in the most difficult of circumstances, and make compromises for the betterment of our country. And in all its imperfections, this is exactly what our Constitution provides for. I close with another quote from Benjamin Franklin, which was made after completion of the Constitution. "I agree to this Constitution with all its faults, if they are such, because I think a central government is necessary for us. I doubt, too, whether any other convention we can obtain may be able to make a better Constitution." Thank you.
We also had a concurrent essay contest this year from the Third Circuit. Judge Arbuckle, would you like to present that award?
I would. The Third Circuit is a federal court that encompasses Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And word of the Lycoming County essay contest filtered up there. And they decided that we should have, in the circuit, a circuit contest. And because it's so big, and because there's the potential of so many entries, they said for our first year, we're going to do fifth graders. And we're going to ask that each court within the circuit administer their own contest and grade their own essays and award their own winners. And of the hundreds of winners or people that applied in the Middle District of Pennsylvania, which is Harrisburg, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Williamsport, we have today the winner for the Williamsport vicinage, a fancy word for the area covered by this court. The Williamsport vicinage She is here today with her mom and dad and Principal Maria Pierce and 5th grade teacher Dr. Tara Battaglia from Rommelt Elementary School. Carenza Cronin is going to read her essay on unjust laws.
Back in April 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a letter from his jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. King was in jail because he did a peaceful protest trying to stop segregation. Dr. King said in his letter, "Since we so diligently urge people to obey the Supreme Court's decision of 1954 outlawing segregation in the public schools, at first glance it may seem rather paradoxical for us consistently to break laws. One may well ask, how can you advocate breaking some laws and obeying others? The answer lies in the fact that there are two types of laws, just and unjust. I would be the first to advocate obeying just laws. One has not only a legal but a moral responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Dr. King was one of the many people who broke unjust laws, so he could stop segregation and make the world he lives in a more fantastic place. Like Dr. King, I also believe that we are able to break laws if they are unjust. One example of unjust laws that had happened in the past were Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws segregated white people from black people and made the black citizens do things that whites did not have to do. One example of unjust laws included making black people move to the back of the bus so that white people could be on the front. Rosa Parks and Jackie Robinson broke these laws. They both chose to not give up their seats on the bus. Rosa Parks was arrested, Jackie Robinson faced a court-martial, and was separated from the United States Army. Another unjust law that people fought to overpower was laws that kept black people as slaves. Harriet Tubman was well known for being a slave and escaping. She then joined the Underground Railroad and rescued slaves. She broke a number of unjust laws. Newspaper reporters say that Harriet Tubman made 19 trips along the Underground Railroad to free over 300 enslaved people between 1850 and 1860. She once had a $40,000, $1.2 million in bounty on her head. She carried a pistol on her for protection for slave catchers and slaves who wanted to turn back. More recently, Nelson Mandela was put in jail for being an activist and breaking the unjust laws in Africa, in the same way that Dr. King did in the United States. I believe that there are still some unjust laws, especially with equal rights for women. For example, in Michigan, women are not allowed to cut their hair without their husband's permission. I think we can stop these unjust laws if we work together as one family, for nobody in the union or the world would be the odd one out.
All right. Thank you, Carenza. Thank you, Judge. We will move on to the art contest winners now. And first up, we have Kate McLaughlin, who is a homeschool student. She's here with her mother and teacher, Brittany. Kate, if you want to come on up. Tell us a little bit about your art. Here's the
The U.S. Constitution is important to us today because it gives us rights and freedom. It teaches us about the founding fathers and all the citizens have equal rights.
Country toward Gary so we can get a shot.
one that comes right here with the
Smile.
All right. Well, building on a common theme, we have Quinn McLaughlin. Also a homeschool student. Again, mother teacher Brittany here, and Quinn, you want to tell us about your art and speak right into the microphone there so everybody can. I'll hold it for you if you want to read.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I was going to read this, but
Tell us whatever you want to.
Yeah, you can make your own remarks.
I was just gonna talk about this. I think this is called Constitution Delivery. It's the eagle that took the improved Constitution and took it to the White House, the Supreme Court, and Congress. Yeah.
Good job. All right, then I have this for you. Certificate for your product, okay? Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, from Mr. Rinker's class at Williamsport High School is Ella Wilson.
In order to form a more perfect union, we must find the value in everyone. Our ears have become deaf and our eyes cannot see. There is no constitutional difference between you and me. Perhaps it is not the document. Perhaps it is the fact that with every opinion voiced, there is an argument. We have become polarized in our beliefs, the left against the right, in a fight with no surrender. But this is the polarization that could cause the end of our nation. The Constitution preaches of liberty, yet we silence our opponents and in doing so tolerate a level of hypocrisy. The Constitution is to be a guideline, to protect our rights. It serves as the foundation of our nation, but now I must draw the line. No amendment can stop this downward spiral. It is the people who must go the extra mile. It must become time to see that it is okay for people to disagree. But to survive, we must do so respectfully. The First Amendment gives us the right to use our voice, and as people, we must honor that choice. This will bring us out of the cave we are in, and then push us towards a more perfect union. Thank you.
Incidentally, we received a lot of great poems this year. Some years we get a lot of videos, and this year it was poems, so well done. So we have next the all-around winner for the art contest, Sadie McGill from Mr. Cook's class at Loyalsock Middle School.
You're tall.
Who am I to you? There are stories from long ago, some that you and I may know. Wars and deaths, that was the price they paid for me. But why all that for me? Do you even know what I mean? Sure, I can be cryptic and hard to understand, but once you get to know me, I lay down the land. I show how the government can run, and I tell what can and cannot be done, like a mother telling her son. You are human and you have rights. I protect those rights so you people don't fight. I am your soldier, your guardian and keeper. I am here for your rights. I hold my head up high and stay my ground in front of those who try and rip us down. I give you freedom, life, and liberty. I keep you closed in a safe gate from those who want to strip them away. I keep you from the greed and power some yearn for. I keep things balanced and it's better for everyone. I hold America together like I'm its roots, its nails and screws, keeping it in one piece, 'cause together we are better. But do people really know me, what I mean, how I work, or why I'm here? Why am I important to you? Do you learn me in school? Or do they skip over me, leave it to other people to know fully? I truly hope not, for I am important to everyone. I am for you, America. I am your Constitution.
Okay, before we hear a few remarks from the judges, I would just like to thank the parents and teachers. Certainly, we couldn't have this event without the encouragement that you give the students. And again, I just can't emphasize enough how impressed we always are with the submissions that we receive. Likewise, I'd like to thank, again, the commissioners for being here. And see we have some members from parole here as well. And I'm sure if any of the students would like to chat with either some of the commissioners or the parole officers, they'd be available afterwards to do that. So with that, Judge Butts.
I'm going to defer to my colleague on the federal bench.
Thank you.
I want to just say how uplifting it is. There are many days, part of my job is to adjudicate people guilty and put them in jail. And there are days when I go home really discouraged about the future of our country. But days like today, and seeing the skill and enthusiasm of the children and the support of the teachers and parents, it fills me with great hope. And that's the message I'd like to leave, one of great hope. Thank you all for participating, for the county for supporting it. I'll thank the circuit, and I will report to them what a great ceremony we had here this afternoon.
Thank you. I believe that I read somewhere that Law Day was instituted in 1957, which was actually the year before I was born. And as a judge, I'm in my 27th year sitting, and I've heard so many different essays and poems and seen so many different art installations, exhibits, and it amazes me every year that things that we work with on a regular basis can have new meaning and new life when interpreted by young people. And I am so fortunate to be able to be in this position, to be able to have this opportunity to participate. So I echo both NDJ Fry and Magistrate Arbuckle by saying that without parents, loved ones, teachers, administrators, you help keep the Constitution and our history alive. So we thank you all very much, and what an awesome opportunity today. So thank you and congratulations to all the winners here today, because you're all winners regardless of what place you end up in, okay? So thank you.
Thank you, Code. So that concludes our ceremony today. I would like to invite all of the winners and their families and teachers to a reception that will be held over in the Jurors Lounge. And all of the winners, before you head over there, if you'd come up front, we'd like to just get a photo of everybody. And then for the attorneys and other members, we're going to have a reception over at the James. And so we invite you all to that as well.
Could I just interrupt one thing?
Please.
You all will have now, not to put her on the spot, but you all now will have the opportunity to meet the newest member of the Lycoming County Courthouse. You actually cannot see him right now, but he's over there with his team member, Jerry Rook. So remember, he's not officially on duty yet, so the rules are, which I've also had to learn because I've never worked with a facility dog before, that you need to ask before you can pet him, but I'm sure she would love to introduce you to him. He's an awesome dog. It's Ludo, is his name. Okay? So, thank you, MJ Fry. Sorry to put you on the spot, Jerry.
Okay, anything else? Do you want to bring?
No, I was just gonna close the ceremony, but other than that.
We'll have Jerry bring Ludo up, and then on the terms and conditions outlined, people can come up and meet him.
So this is Ludo.
Stretch it.
It's been a long week.
That's right.
All right. thank you, everybody, again, and
Group photo.
try to stay dry out there. And again, if the winners could come up for a group photo, we'd appreciate that.
And this special session of court is now concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.